what is a quarter life crisis and does it differ from a midlife crisis?
Yeah, I think a quarter life crisis is the complete opposite of a midlife crisis, right? So in our quarter life, we're still trying to figure out our purpose. We're struggling to figure out where we fit in, what we're meant to do, and we've got all of this great energy and all of this drive. And when you don't know what you want to do, and when you don't find that purpose, that meaning, or that connection, you kind of just float. You kind of just do what everyone else is doing. You follow the crowd. You have that in motion but no connection sort of feeling throughout your life. And I think a lot of people who finish uni or who start working in the corporate world like I did, or who just do what they're told or what they're supposed to do or what the thing is of that era that they're in, and don't really connect on a soul level, and you simply just settle really really early on in life. You settle for, okay, this is working for now, and don't think about your long-term goals. That's kind of where your quarter life crisis lies. It's in the, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to do this for now. And the more that people do that, the longer that they do that for, they quickly realize that, oh, actually, there is something really missing. Nothing's working. I keep wanting and not getting. I keep doing and not achieving. And it's so important for us to really take a step back and decide what it is that we want to do. And if we don't know what we want to do, figure it out and work on that journey, because that journey is going to be more fulfilling long term, short term, and all of the ways.
When does someone usually experience a quarter life crisis? Because you mentioned, and the reason why I asked, you mentioned like university. Is it roughly about that age, or is there a specific age that it's from this age to this age that they experience a quarter life crisis?
I think it is from the ages of 25 to 45. I think it's in that age range where, because you're still finding yourself in your early 20s. I think you still got that, I'm going to try anything and see what fits, see what works, see what I like. And that's okay. You're allowed to do that as many times as you like. But going in the most randomest directions and trying and doing different things is not what your whole life is support, right? So I do think that there is an element of, when you finish uni, of trying things out and seeing what fits and what works. But I think when you get to the age of 25, you kind of change mentalities. Your mindset differs, and it's about, okay, well, where is this taking me? What is the next step? What is the next stage? Am I saving for a house? Am I going to get married? Am I going to have kids? Am I going to travel? Like, all of the different things have to mean something for you to do them. So I do think it's in that age range.
I think, and that's a good point because I remember when, because I'm only about 10 years removed from that age period. So hopefully I'm not going through a quarter life crisis myself, but but I remember it seems everything seemed to be clear as day, right, in my teens. And then once I started to get to post-secondary, that's when I was like, okay, I have 1 year left of high school. Where do I exactly want to go with my life?
Yeah.
So I took it to a path where I want to get into the legal field. I took paralegal in school, I graduated, so on and so forth. But then once
Mm-hmm.
you, I think there's some difficulty, at least back then and now, like once you left school, like once you knew for sure you were done with school, it's like, and then what? Because I guess we're
Yeah.
told you go to school, you do well, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, and then you ride off to the sunset. But
Mm.
I don't recall, and maybe you can touch on this since you're involved in this. I don't recall anyone telling us how do we get the career, how do we get the marriage, how do we get the kids? Is that something
Yeah.
that you coach to as well?
100%. Absolutely. Because I think a lot of people base their life on assumptions, right? I should save to buy a house. I should get married. I should have kids. I should be doing the things that everybody else around me, whether it's my parents, whether it's my family, whether it's my friends, all of these people are doing this, this, and this. So I should be doing those sorts of things. And when you don't know where to start, it's so easy to follow, to look around you and go, oh, okay, well, these guys are doing this, so I'm going to do the same thing. But if it doesn't feel like what you should be doing, we're never told to take a step back and go, well, actually, why don't you just take a year out and figure it out for yourself? Why don't you try different things without rushing into buying the biggest house that you can find? Like, it's really about just taking a moment for you, not asking anybody else. And quite often it is yourself that has to give you the permission. Nobody's going to say, oh sure, take a year off, and like you don't have to pay your bills, you don't have to work, or you don't have to do anything. Nobody's going to tell you that. It is yourself that has to give you the permission to look inwards and to figure that out. And it's tough, and it's not the easiest journey, and it's not the easiest decision to go through, but it is the most rewarding, in my opinion.
Do you think one of the reasons why we don't want to take that year off for ourselves is we put timelines are kind of imposed on us? And
Yeah,
I'll elaborate on that and say that, see, you being a woman, right? I'm pretty sure you've probably heard that. Well, you know what? You need to have kids by, you need to be
yes,
married by, and as a man, I'm told that you need to have a career by, you need to find the
yeah,
person that you want to marry by, right? It's like we are told that from, was we all, depending on where you live, 18, 19 seems to be when you become officially an adult. You can drink, you can do whatever it
mhm,
is you want.
yeah,
There's that understanding that your mind, your state of mind has changed versus when you're in your early teens. But I think the 20s, as you mentioned, 25 to 45, it seems like in our 20s, there's this mountain of confusion because we know from when we hit 20 until we hit 30, the expectation from those around us, from society, from our family members, from our parents, that we need to accomplish a lot more from 20 to 30 than we ever did from 0 to 19.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That is a brilliant point that you touch on. And it's so true. You don't really think about how what is expected of you in your 20s, 30s. And that's brilliant point, because it is true that there is a lot of expectations, and we are told that our expectations are the truth, and we're told that our society should dictate how we look and how we behave and what paychecks we should get, and it's not the truth. And I want people to know that you get to decide where you work, you get to decide who you marry, whether you do marry or not, you get to decide whether you have kids on your own or don't have kids, and it is a choice that you get to make yourself, and nobody can dictate that answer for you.
How's the experience on, and to continue that note, how's the experience dealing with women then? Because I think, because I know that's your primary area of expertise, that you're dealing with women and you're coaching them. Like, do you have to deal with some of the expectations that are put onto them, as well as some of the expectations that they may put on themselves as you navigate them through their lives?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I because I work with women, so I always feel a lot of it is down to emotions. A lot of it is down to fear. A lot of it is down to, well, I definitely couldn't do that because I haven't set my life up that way. And I always talk about setting yourself up for success. And I think a lot of it is really owning the emotions that you have towards what you want to do in life. Because dreams are there for you to, like, as a guide, as like your end goal. They're not just dreams to like hold on to for the rest of your life. They're actually, that's what you want. You need to make a plan to go for it and achieve them. And I think women, like, have that belief that they should be at home and that they should look after the kids and their husbands, and they come second, third, fourth down the line. And I think for women there's a lot of guilt around that. There's a lot of emotional baggage with that, and overcoming that is one of the things that I love walking women through, and I love supporting them through, because on the other side is pure freedom, and you are so much happier when you make your rules, when you decide what you do when you wake up, you decide your timeline, you get to decide whether you want kids or not, want a career or not. It's entirely up to you, and that ownership and that power, it means the world to a lot of women, and that's why I love supporting them through.
What kind of steps do you undertake with them to help them through that process?
A lot of it is owning what you're telling yourself, so your inner voices. A lot of the time we tell ourselves we can't, or we shouldn't, or we don't have time, or we're too broke, and all of those things are things that we've said to ourselves a million times over and over and over again. And it's about reframing those things. It's about, well, am I really broke, or do I just spend my money in the wrong places? Do I not actually have time, or am I using my time incorrectly and not working towards the things that I want, and working towards the things that other people want me to work on? Do I really not have the capability or the mentality, or have I just not learned something new in so long I have no idea where to start? So it's just about really assessing what you're telling yourself and seeing those stories for what they are, and figuring out what you really want and how to get it, and working towards that more, as opposed, and letting those old stories and old voices in your head go.
I know you mentioned fear, right? And you mentioned the steps that you take to help women.
Yeah,
And in my experience, just interacting with people, as you mentioned when we were talking briefly about the personal development side, I found that fear is such a strong emotion that prevents so many people from doing what they want to do. And it seems that, and I always thought that maybe failure was the big one of the bigger reasons why people wouldn't want to change, or they wouldn't want to
yeah,
do something, because they were afraid that, you know what, if I fail, how is she going to judge me? If I fail, how
yeah,
is he going to judge me, right? Because the fail leads to the judgment. But it seems like fear, and you mentioned it, is such a deciding factor on when people want to embark on that journey. Is there tools, or is there ways that you would equip people, or maybe something that you can tell me that can help the women around me to overcome the fear of making those changes and finally feeling free, as you mentioned?
yeah. I think the main thing is understanding that your fears are all based on assumptions. They are not facts, they are not reality, they haven't happened yet. They are all assumptions. They are all in your head. They are stories you tell yourself that are not true. But if there is something that you know that you want, and you know that you, let's take travel for instance, you know that you want to travel the world, you know that you want more of that exciting, visiting different cultures, all of that kind of stuff in your life, take one teeny tiny step. Whether it's Googling images and having them on your wall, whether it's planning a trip from the top of Italy to the bottom of Italy, whether it's the visiting seven wonders of the world, take a real look at what it would take for you to actually do it. So create that idea of, I need this much money, I need this much time, this is the things that I'm going to visit. And then do that in your real life. So wake up one day and say, okay, well, my morning thing is having a juice first thing in the morning. Is there anywhere locally that I can go by myself on my own and explore my local area and find a place that makes my kind of juices? And so taking that really small step in your everyday life, in the world that you're comfortable in, will build your confidence to do it in the real world. So the first little steps train your brain to think differently and to think in a new way, and to give yourself the permission and the courage to go out even just a little bit, and taking the first step and then continuing that. Well, okay, I've done that in my town, can I do that in the next town, or can I do that in my friend's town? Or, and then what's the next thing? Can I go to a museum on my own? Can I eat out on my own? Can I visit a new attraction in the part of the country that I live in? And so on and so forth. So you make your goals bigger and bigger, but you start really, really small.
Has there been a point in your life where you had to take that first step? Like what you're helping women with now, did it come from a place where it was a way to help you embark on that journey as well on a personal level?
Yeah, 100%. Um, I was that girl. I was that girl. I've got a great education. I worked the in the corporate world for the number one HR company in the country. I did everything right and nothing fit. Nothing felt like it was up to me. I was never in control of my own destiny or my own life, or making any of the decisions, because they were already made for me by my entire world. And I felt really, really helpless. There was a point where I wanted to go in a different direction, and I wanted to become a coach in my company. And all of the ways that I could think of were rejected. And I just thought, no, this is what I want to do. This is something that I know that I'm really good at, and I know that I can help so many people. And so I did it on my own. I decided, well, if I'm not going to get any help anywhere else, I'm going to figure out how to do it on my own and take those steps. And I retrained as a coach, started my own business. None of this I knew how to do. I'm not the like best businesswoman on the planet. I'm never going to admit to being that person because I'm just not. But what I am is a really good coach. And what I know is that my purpose is that, and I have to do it. I have to fulfill it for myself and keep going with that. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about people finding their purpose, because that's where the magic happens. That's where your force comes from.
And how did that make you feel to accomplish all of this without it being your area of expertise? Like, how did that make you feel?
Mm. Um, I it really struggled at the beginning because it did feel like I was doing something completely different. Everything was really hard because I was continuously learning new things, and it just felt like a really big struggle. And somebody that I follow, her name's Amanda Francis. She's an incredible money coach, and she always talks about making things easy, making things fun, making things the simplest way possible. And when I realized that I was the one that was making my life difficult, when I realized I was the one that was getting in my way and saying, well, this has to be really hard, this has to have all of my focus all of the time, and I let go of all of that, that's when things fell into place, as it were. That's when things flowed in a much better way. I was more comfortable with my own personal flow as opposed to trying to be what other people who have been super successful in their business are doing every single day. And I just owned who I was and followed who I wanted to be in this world. And that's when it became so much easier.
And that's amazing because it's like you're taking your journey, you're taking your experiences, and you're helping women
Mhm.
continue forward.
Yeah,
And you're getting them at an age that I think is so crucial because, as we've been discussing throughout this whole podcast, is that 20s, it's a tough time for
yeah,
a lot of people. You're discovering
yes.
yourself, you're trying to figure things out. What would you tell the next generation of women coming up? Like, how would you want to prepare them to continue to build and maybe build on what the previous generation has left for them?
I One, I think it is all about finding your people, like finding the people that are doing what you're doing and just reach out to them. Because I think communication and connection helps you so much. Because when you have this first idea, or when you have this, oh, I don't really fit in, or I don't really feel like this is the thing that I want to do, you feel really lonely. You feel like it's only you, because when you look around, everybody's happy and having fun and doing all of the things, and they may not be happy, but on the outside they do seem that way. And I think it's about really connecting with people who either are doing what you want to do or have done it, have taken that leap. And I definitely think that the more that you say it out loud, the more that you communicate it, the more that you receive, and the more that it becomes clearer as well. um, so I definitely think being open and honest about it to your closest friends, to your closest family members. And if you don't have anybody in your circle, Facebook is the biggest social media out there that you can like connect with anyone and everyone. And there is 100% a group for you out there. Whether you're used to speaking to people online or not, that is where I would start, I think.
And that's good advice. I remember someone was telling me that I had this conversation with someone that's kind of like a mentor, and they mentioned support, and I would mention to them support system, and they used an interesting word to describe it. They used the word tribe,
Yeah.
saying that you need to find your tribe. You need to find a group of people that have a similar cause, where it's a mentality of it's like if things get bad, it's us against the world. Um,
Yeah.
Is that something that you touch on when you're helping women going forward,
Yeah.
like to find their support system, find their tribe, to find I like to call it their group of fans who's waiting at the finish line, cheering them on, motivating them, jumping up and down. They have big signs with their name on it. They're giving them the energy to carry forward. Is that something you help women with as well?
Yeah. So I describe it as the hive mind. When you've got a group of people who are on your side, who have best interests for you, who know who you are and just want the best for you, your mentality, your brain, the things that you notice in the world, they all come together. So as soon as you're on that journey, as soon as you've opened yourself up to receiving more of what you want in your life, people will come to you. People will come with ideas. People will come, oh, I took this picture of this, or you really need to connect with this person, or you really need to read this book. When you put your mind and your dreams out there into the world to people who you trust and who care about you and who have your back, they'll start thinking exactly the same way. They'll start noticing things for you. And when you get a group of women together, I feel like we have that openness to the universe, or that connection to the energy around us, where when we're focused on one person, we all think of something for that person. We all come together and create for this person. And I always call it the hive mind, because I think it always takes a group of people to come together to like fill out all the corners and stuff of your idea. Does
Is
that
that
make sense?
how absolutely. Is that how when you got started, is that how you viewed it with every woman, every female, every woman that I come in contact with that I'm helping, they're part of my hive mind. Is that how it got you in the beginning to help these
Yeah,
women?
yeah, 100%. I mean, I've heard hundreds of women call it their tribe, call it whatever they want to, their cheerleaders, their crew, their clique. And I realized how much my group of women supported me after the fact, because I don't think I would have realized it when I was in it. I was just looking for a way out. I was just looking for the right path, or the way to do it, like the step by step, the methodology. So I wasn't really looking for the connection. I was just looking for somebody to tell me how to do this thing. I want to do this, and this is how I want to do it. And I was looking for support on it. And it wasn't until I looked back and realized the amount of women, the amount of connections that I have that supported me, whether they knew about business or whether it was just a cocktail on a Friday night. Like, all of the women that I have in my life are there for a reason. And I definitely look back and think, God, yeah, I've made the right connections in life, and they have supported me through the ups and the downs. Definitely.
You mentioned to me about inner voice.
Mhm.
Um, for those that may not know, even myself, what does inner voice mean and how does it benefit the person that's actually hearing it?
Okay, so I always think about, when you first wake up, when you open your eyes, what is the one thing that you think about? What is the one thing that you do? I remember when I wasn't, like, when I didn't know my purpose, when I was just working, and the only reason why I'd get up is because if I didn't, I'd be really late for the train. And today I wake up because I know that my purpose is meaningful, whether it's just to get up and to sit and meditate, or whether it's to get up and stretch. It's to get up for me and my purpose. And I think when you have that voice that's going, well, actually, no, you need to get up because you've got this, this, and this to show and to support and to provide, as opposed to, no, you're going to be really late, you're going to get told off. That Those two are very conflicting voices. Those two voices either support you, or you have to fight them. So I want voices that support me and that cheer me in my own head, whether it's through affirmations, whether it's through support. But those voices are often negative, and they're often um, harmful to us. Like, if you look in the mirror and you tell yourself you're overweight, or you're ugly, or your hair isn't right, like, those are not the voices that we want to hear. We want to be able to change our voices internally and say, well, no, actually, I'm so beautiful. I've done this, I've achieved this in my lifetime, I've got this to achieve, whatever it is. And those voices stem from what we put into our minds and our heads. And I do believe that the more positivity you bring into your life, the more that you give to yourself, and are then able to produce for other people and support other people through.
Are there steps that maybe we can take to one, have a better, have a more positive inner voice, and two, is an appropriate time to focus on our inner voice?
Yeah, I think right now is is the best time to start this. I also think the first step is always, 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 always awareness. You need to know what you're telling yourself. If you don't understand what you say to yourself when you're brushing your teeth, if you don't hear the voices that you say to yourself last thing at night, then how are you going to change them? And I think it's super awareness of whether you do speak negatively or whether you are a positive person to other people but not yourself, or vice versa. So awareness is the first thing, and then I think this is going to sound like woo woo or whether you're into it or not, but affirmations do work. Whether it's telling yourself that you're beautiful, telling yourself that you're powerful, telling yourself that you're strong, that you're good with money in the mirror, or just on repeat before you go to bed, whatever it is, but putting the go to phrases in your mind far more than the negative ones will help you attach to the positive a lot quicker than the negative. I remember when I was doing working on my money mentality, I used to always tell myself I'm so broke. And of course I would manifest that. I was constantly broke. I'd never have any money at the end of the month. And as soon as I changed my mentality and my inner voice to saying, well, no, I've spent so wisely this month, I'm really, really good, that's when the money started coming into my bank account, not through pay rises, but because I changed my money mentality and my inner voices.
And that's a good point. As I remember, I tell some of my friends a joke that I have a lot of mirrors in my house just so I can look at myself and feel how beautiful I am, right? But yeah, but some people may view that as like arrogance or whatever, or they may think I'm joking. But I look at it as, when I look in the mirror, to your point, as I'm brushing my teeth or washing my face or maybe shaving, whatever the case is, I'm telling myself, you know what? You're gonna have a good day today. You're a good looking
Yeah.
person today. You should feel good. It's not that I think I'm God's gift to this earth. No, you know what? Yes, there's times where I may think that, but I definitely I don't walk around actually believing that I am God's gift, but you want to come as close as possible to that. You want to feel that you're important. You want people to perceive you as someone saying that, you know what? This person is confident, this person is comfortable in their skin, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you find, have you come across like a common theme of reasons why people may be hesitant to give themselves those type of compliments?
I think it's not common practice, and that's why people don't do it. And I think it's more, people connect really quickly to the negativity. Like if you think around, like when you're in the office making a cup of coffee, you're always complaining about your day, the weather, whatever it is, your work. And it's more common to complain than it is to be positive and go, no, actually, I've really got my shit together today. I've really got like all of the knowledge that I need. I am so beautiful. I don't need to worry about what I'm wearing, what I look like. I know that I've got this. And it's more common to complain and it's more common to be negative. And often as well, the more positive that you seem, the more positive outlook that you put out into the world, if you're not in the right circles, it can often be viewed as ridiculous. It can often be reviewed as, oh, she's definitely living in la la land. Like, and I think that's such a shame, but it sometimes can be true. If you're not hanging around with the right circles, if you're not hanging around with people that want to develop themselves, that want to be better than themselves and think they have all of the answers already, you're in the wrong circles.
And it goes back to what we talked about earlier about support system, hive mind, and tribes, right?
Yeah.
If you surround yourself, it goes back to that old saying, right? If you have four negative people around you, you'll be the fifth. If you have 10
Yeah.
broke people around you, you'll be the 11th.
Yeah.
And it's still amazing how many people don't believe that to be true, right? If you
Mm.
surround yourself, as you mentioned, if you're going to work and you start complaining at the coffee machine, you're more likely to have someone come up to you and start doing what? Complaining about something else. Now you have two.
Yeah.
Someone who's more positive will walk by, hear it, and be like, you know what? I don't want any part of this. And they'll keep walking because they're
Yeah.
avoiding it. and then the fourth person will come and join the other two, and now they're the third. And now you have a group of people voicing their complaints where other people who are more
Mhm.
positive are avoiding it. And I
Yeah.
still think that a lot of people confuse loyalty with comfort. And by that, I mean that let's say you and I are friends, but I'm a negative person. You
Mhm.
may not want to keep distance from me because you feel that you're being loyal to me, whereas it's more comfortable not to rock the boat versus saying
Yeah.
that, you know what, I need to replace terrain because my positive level is up here. And whenever I'm around him, he's bringing me down and ultimately
Yeah.
he's affecting my goals. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
something that you have experienced in your journey as well as with the clients that you have?
Yeah. I think anything that I go through with my clients I've experienced previously. I think that's the only way that you can come from like a really genuine place is to go through it. And I think there's so much power in going through the steps and then being able to support women through that journey. So yes, I definitely have. And I think the 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 framework or the methodology that I work with people through is creating the right boundaries for yourself. If you are on this new journey, if you're on this journey for a while, whatever it is, your personal development shouldn't be shunned or you shouldn't be ashamed of it. It should be spoken about. You should be really proud of yourself for working through these stories that you've been telling yourselves. And if you don't have that support around you, or if you're hiding yourself just to fit in, you're in the wrong circles and you need to be aware of what you really need from your support system. If you don't want to speak up or tell people what you're going through, you're hiding yourself from the world, you're hiding yourself from the circle, your truest self, and people won't get to know the real you. And that's who you need to be in this world. That's who you want to show up. You were created for a purpose. We've all been given this incredible life for a reason, and hiding that away in the corner or the back of your mind is not what you're here for. And also, it's really damaging to think that you have to hide your truest thoughts or voices to yourself. It can often leave you really lonely. It can feel really depressed, and you can often feel anxious because you're constantly thinking about what should I say in this situation as opposed to what you actually want to say. And I think um, the more that you tell yourself, well, actually, this is who I want to be, the more clearer who around you is supportive and who isn't supportive becomes.
Do you find that some women that you deal with have an issue with that? Like they're hiding themselves from the rest of the world?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people don't realize how much they hide themselves as well. Um, I think there are so many people who think about hot topics or think about things that are like talking about the news as opposed to talking about what they went through today or their real emotions or even reaching out to people just to connect. I think so many people fear just reaching out because of judgment or because, oh, everybody else seems like they're having a great time, I'm going to bring the mood down, or I don't really feel like I can keep up with their lifestyles or their ways of thinking, so I'm just going to sit back and be quiet. Absolutely, I think a lot of people think that.